Welcome, class. Today we are going to start our lesson by answering the question of the day. So, for our question, we have, do you know what time it is? Without looking at your iPad, can you read to me what time it is on that picture?
Is it 12:30?
It's not 12:30, close one, but not quite. That's okay though. We will go ahead and get the answer at the end of the lesson. So let's get started. So today we are going to tell time by the hour, okay? So our objective for today is going to be to identify the arrangement of numbers and the hands on an analog clock in order to successfully tell time by the hour. So that is our ultimate goal throughout the entire lesson. So I know I gave this away, but what is this called? Can you please say it?
An analog clock?
Yes, so every time you see a clock that looks circular with numbers on it and two arrows, that is an analog clock. Okay, make sure you remember that. Keep it engraved in your brain because I will be asking you again at the end of the lesson what this is called. Great. So now we are going to watch a small clip and it shows us how to tell time by the hour. Don't worry, I know it's gonna be quick, but I will go ahead and review everything this video says after the video is done.
This is called an analog clock, and as you can see, there are the numbers 1 through to 12 on the clock face. An analog clock has two hands. We call the long hand the minute hand, and we call the short hand the hour hand. When the minute hand is pointing to the number 12 on the clock face, we say it is something o'clock. The number that the hour hand is pointing to will tell us what hour we are in. Right now, the hour hand is pointing at the number 12. So the time on the clock is 12 o'clock. This is called a digital clock. The digits on the left will tell us the hour that we're in. The digits on the right tell us how many minutes have passed the hour. The time on both the analog clock and the digital clock both say 12 o'clock. Since there are 60 minutes in 1 hour, let's have a look at what happens when the minute hand moves clockwise around the clock. The minute hand is pointing to the 12, so it is something o'clock. The hour hand is pointing at the number 1, so the time is 1 o'clock. Let's watch the clock fast forward another 60 minutes. What time is it?
It is 2 o'clock.
Try to remember the basics. When the minute hand is pointing at the number 12, it is something o'clock. So then look at the hour hand to tell you what that something o'clock is.
All right, so there's that. Now we're gonna have a quick review time. I know I said we are only gonna focus on learning how to tell time by the hour, but just real quick, we're gonna count by fives up to 60 because as mentioned in the video, there is how many minutes in 1 hour?
60.
60, good job. So let's go ahead and just count. This is gonna help you for the next lesson where we do add minutes, but this is just a quick review, okay? So can we count by five, starting with 5 up to 60? Ready, set, go.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and 60.
Good job. So remember your fives. That way, when we do add minutes into our telling time, you are well prepared. Okay, thank you for your participation. All right, so understanding the analog clock. All right, so the small hand, which is the little red one right here, it represents the hour, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay, and then this big hand right here, this pink one represents the minutes. Again, we are not going to do any minutes, so for our examples that we will be doing later, the big hand is going to stay on the 12, meaning the 0 minutes, okay?
Okay.
So when the big hand points to the 12, the time is o'clock, okay? So right here, I showed you this example before from our question of the day. So can we try and see if we can tell time? So can you tell me what time it is now?
Is it 3 o'clock?
Why is it 3 o'clock? Because what?
Because the small hand is pointing to the 3.
And that represents the hour, right? And the 12 represents the minutes, but because it's at 12, it's 0 minutes. Good job. So remember your big hand and your little hand, okay? Those are two very important tools that we are going to need in order to answer our questions. All right, so is it AM or PM? We're not really going to focus on this too much, but just a quick review. AM represents the time in the morning, right? And PM represents the time in the afternoon. So I have two examples that I wrote down for you. Can you read the first one, please?
We can go get breakfast at 8 a.m. tomorrow.
At 8 a.m. tomorrow. Good job. Yes. So that means they're going to go get breakfast in the morning or in the afternoon?
In the morning.
In the morning because of why? The AM, right?
Yes.
Okay. Example 2, I'll go ahead and read that. I have soccer practice at 5 p.m. next week. Is that the morning or the afternoon?
The afternoon.
Good job, Jennifer. All right. So here's another quick reminder with an analog clock. The minute hand represents the big one, right? And then the small hand represents the what?
The hour.
The hour hand. Good job. Okay. So let's go ahead and do some practice. We are going to do these as a class, so we don't need to write anything down. So let's start with example A. Remember, the blue hand is the what? Is it the big hand or is it the small hand?
The small hand.
The blue hand is actually the big one. As you can see, it's longer than the red one, right? So that represents the minutes, okay? Remember, we are not doing any minutes, so it should always be at what? 0. So can you tell me what time it is by looking at the letter A? So go ahead and start by looking at the red hand, which is a small one, which represents the hour. Okay, so what's the red hand pointing at? What number?
3.
3. So it is what o'clock?
It is 3 o'clock.
Good job. Okay. Letter B. Again, there's no minutes, so it should be 0. It should be at the 12. We're only focusing on looking for the small red hand. And what is the small red hand pointing at? What number?
8.
8. So it is
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Good job. Letter C. This one's a little tricky. Do you think you can answer this one by yourself?
Is it 6?
6 what?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Yes, it is very important to add the o'clock at the end, okay? So let's go ahead and do some more practice. Can you go ahead and tell me what D is?
It's 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock? Yes. And letter E, let's see. This one's another tricky one. Can you tell me what this is? If it's pointing at the same number.
Is it 12 o'clock?
12 o'clock, good job. And last one is letter F.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, good job, Jennifer. All right, let's go ahead and move on. For this practice, it's going to be by yourself, but I will be here if you have any questions. But I'm just going to give you one small hint. You are actually going to draw the big hand and the little hand. So what I want you to do is pick a color for your big hand and pick a color for your small hand. So they need to be two different colors. And it tells you right here the times. It tells you 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. So with that being said, you are going to be asked to draw the arrows that point to the hour it tells you. Okay, so let's see. Can you draw on it? Can you draw on it or no? Here.
Now I can.
Yeah, okay. So remember to pick a color for your big hand and for another color for your small hand. So remember, small hand is what? It represents the hour?
Oh, the hour.
The hour or minute? Hour, good. And then the big hand represents the minute. So again, the minutes they're all 0, right? So that means that the minute hand is always going to point at what number?
The 12.
The 12, good. And that should be your long hand, not the small one. Okay, minute is long. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I just want to make sure that you get these correct. Okay, so go ahead and start. Can you draw on it?
Yes.
Okay, take your time. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. If you're done before then let me know. We can go ahead and review that together. Okay, Jennifer, are you done? Go ahead and submit it if you are
Okay.
done. We will go ahead and review your answers. All right, let's check it out. So, okay, so yes, can you tell me what the blue hand represents?
The blue hand represents the minute.
The minutes, good. And then the red hand?
It represents the hours.
Good job. So it tells you to draw to 3 o'clock, right? Let's see. Did you get A correctly? Yes. Good job, Jennifer. Next time, try to draw the line a little bit more bigger, and then you'll be good. And then
Okay.
for B, can you tell me what it says?
It's 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Good job. And then C,
It's 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Good job, Jennifer. All right. Let's go ahead and close that. All right, so you made it. Congratulations. I hope you now know how to tell time by the hour. As a reward, we're going to go ahead and listen to a cool song that I found on YouTube, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hop around the clock. When I say the time, you stop. If you're at the time, you say hip hop, then the time on the clock. Hip hop around the clock. Hip hop around the clock. Now the time is 8 o'clock. Hip hop, it's 8 o'clock. Hip hop around the clock. Hip hop around the clock. Now the time is 5 o'clock. Hip hop, it's 5 o'clock. Hip hop around the clock. Hip hop around the clock. Now the time is 2 o'clock. Hip hop, it's 2 o'clock. Hip hop around the clock. Hip hop around the clock. Now the time is 11 o'clock. Hip hop, it's 11 o'clock. Hip hop around the clock. Hip hop around the clock. Now the time is 7 o'clock. Hip hop, it's 7 o'clock. Hip hop around the clock. Hip hop around the clock. Now the time is 4 o'clock. Hip hop, it's 4 o'clock. Hip hop around the clock. Hip hop around the clock. Hip hop around the clock. Hip hop around the clock.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that little small song that I found. Okay, so we are done with our lesson, but before I let you go, let's have some review and a few questions. Okay, so question 1, what does the small hand on the analog clock represent?
The small hand on the analog clock represents the hours.
The hour, yes. I really appreciate you using complete sentences. Good job. Number 2, what does the big hand on the analog clock represent?
The big hand represents the minutes.
The minutes, yes. And today we only learned telling time by what? By the hour, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So now, can you tell me what time it is based on this image down below?
It is 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Good job, Jennifer. Thank you so much for your participation today. And I hope that you are now able to tell time by the hour by yourself. Great work.
Thank you.